Hello, everyone, and welcome to Field Tuning, a weekly divination container held by me, Intrepid Bodies, in the Broom Radio. This collective divination takes place every Monday. I almost said Moon Day, but Moon Day applies too. Moon Day at 3:30 p.m. Louisiana time. So I'm sorry that I don't have conversions for other places. Maybe y'all can let me know. Like maybe if you're listening to this episode asynchronously, and you're not in the same time zone as me, let me know. And then the next field tuning, I'll be sure to consider it. Maybe. I just want to be like completely honest. And yes, and special shout out and thank you to everybody who is here live to make this container just that much more juicy, that much more anchored. And so I appreciate you guys. Um, Yay, yay. So I pulled some cards before this reading, or before I press record on this recording, and they're all face down, so I haven't seen them yet. So journey with me, why don't you? Oh, just for reference, this reading and this divination is valid for the week of like today, February 12th to February 18th. And I feel like that's important to say because um, yes, I do quite a bit of work to like really get into the space and to the container to hold space for nudges, cues, breadcrumbs, supports, um, like signs basically that would just help support us on like throughout the week, as opposed to like just kind of creating a reading that's like forever, um, because I feel like that's something that I can do. But if you would like something that's more like that, I suggest that you book a one-on-one divination. Um, and keep in mind that again, this is for more of like the collective, usually more pivoted towards those who I'm reading for in the live container, just because there's like presence being exchanged in the live containers, if that makes sense. So, and you can't replace that. I'll be honest. In my opinion, you cannot replace that one-to-one presence and that what happens in a container. So, yeah, join the broom if nothing else. So, anyways, I'm done with promoting. I want to, yeah, just again, welcome everyone to Field Tuning. And I'm going to turn over these cards and take a photo and share them with you guys for what the energies and what we can look forward to for this week. Mm, One of them I pulled over reverse and heard that that was not in reverse. Ooh, we have some big cards in this pull, y'all. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to take a photo of them and share them in the chat. Ooh, ooh, this is exciting. Wow, this is so in sync with last week's reading. I'm lit. Okay, let's start. Okay, let me take a photo of the top row. Oh no, I can capture them all together. Mm, 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 mm. Wow. Wow. Let me actually hold this one up like that. Not me like trying to make the photos aesthetic. Mostly, I just want y'all to be able to like see them. Sorry to be building up so much anticipation and like taking forever. I'm gonna share them now. I'm gonna share them now. Da-da-da-da-da. Oh, sorry guys, they're turned to the side. Give me one more second. Give me one more second. Mm-mm-mm. So I just have to flip them and then go from there. Yes. Okay. And there we go. I'll leave. Yeah, there we go. All right. So we have, thank hey hey guys for y'all who joined a little later. We're actually just kind of getting started, though I was doing a whole heap of energy work before this part of the call. So I'm sorry that I didn't record it. Um, I'm going to read out the cards for those who are listening on the podcast. So the first card that we have for this week's reading is the Priestess of Swords. Then we have the Emperor in reverse. We then have the Ace of Wands upright, the Priestess of Cups also upright. We have the Magician upright as well, and the Ace of Cups. And what really got my juices flowing was that at the bottom of the deck, we have the Shaman of Swords, which was like one of the main cards in last week's reading. So that's pretty sick to me. Yes, and then the oracle card that we have for this week is pulled from the Beyond Lumeria deck. It's the card number 51, known as the Sound of the Universe. So we'll get into that. Adam's saying in the chat that I noticed earlier, or was mentioning earlier, that my ears were ringing before I pressed record. And so, yeah. Adam also says in the chat, this looking like one of them vast flash cosmic reads. Ashe. I hope so. So let's get into like the short delineation from the tarot booklet of each card. Because again, I just like to bring a new energy to every single week. Even if it means like we're braiding this week's message with last week's message or another week's message, I think it totally makes sense to do that. So anchoring it in some symbolic meaning, I think is fun. So the Priestess of Swords. So swords represents air, east, mental realms, realities the mind creates. The Priestess of Swords is a combination of water and air and represents sending out prayers and plans, and also represents having strong sight. Strong sight, which is interesting. To me, I feel like the Priestess of Swords is it reminds me of, before I get into like the technical read, I guess I'll say the first thing that's coming up for me is this Andre 3000 verse where he says, and I forget what the song is in. So if anybody knows it, let me know. But the first thing that comes to mind is this Andre 3000 verse that goes, nothing is more attractive, shielding, than a heavy praying woman. Where he's like, I think nothing is more attractive than a heavy praying woman. And that's the first thing that came up for me looking at the Priestess of Swords. As the booklet says that it represents strong sight, I would even say foresight and insight would be included under this umbrella of terms that describes the Priestess of Swords. I also feel like the Priestess of Swords, the Priestess of Swords, for some reason I thought I said wands. The Priestess of Swords here to me represents this ability to kind of like see far and like have like vision and in acting on that vision. So it represents this intuitive urge, that this intuitive, I should say, maybe like connection that can open up for us whenever we have like when we have that like really tight relationship, or like we are in right relationship with our intuition. Like not only is it within our rights to act on that intuition, I also feel like something that doesn't get talked about enough is like the power of prayer And so when I see the Priestess of Swords, that's what I think of, like the power of like conviction, the power of like um having like a testimony, which to me, all of these like different phrases represent this like really tight knit relationship with the divine, and like the tight knit relation, the fabric which weaves that tight knit relationship with the divine, having to do with like the validation that one gets from like their sights. In other words, like what they pray for is not only like enacted, is not only like seen, like I guess like for me what I'm feeling into is like there are a lot of like egregoric interpretations of like A Course in Miracles, and I don't know enough about it to like comment on it. I don't know enough about it to like go in on it, but I also feel like this reference is coming up for me around like this week being a prime kind of time to like put your ability to see, to be in relationship with the divine to use. And the medium of like putting that to use is prayer, however you pray or however you choose to pray. And I know a lot of people, prayers look different for everybody. Prayers can just be like expressing gratitude in the moment. Prayers sometimes, like I said, they're like convicted petitions that people make to the divine, where they almost like imagine the divine sitting in front of them. People pray through dance, people pray through journaling. Um, I sometimes, like when I pull cards, it's a little bit of a prayer to me because it's this gateway that opens up between the individual self and the vaster self. And I think that in and of itself is like a consecrated space. So the Priestess of Swords kind of reminds us to like treat not only the weak like a consecrated sacred space, but like whatever your endeavors are, whatever your desires are, if you're not putting prayer behind them, in my opinion, then it's like you're like to me personally, if I didn't put footwork behind my prayer work, then what is the measure of like my belief? In other words, like how strong is my faith if I'm not ensuring that like it's me and the divine making decisions and creating outcomes as opposed to like me and my ego? Because from there, for me personally, when I make decisions out of my ego, I fumble the ball and I feel like I'm getting into the next card, but I won't go there yet. Um, hey Boone. But yeah, I wonder what comes up for y'all as you yeah, as you think and reflect on the Priestess of Swords, or as you even think and reflect on like your method of prayer. Um, or maybe if there's some room to open up how you pray, then I would say, yeah, I welcome it. Ashe. Adam says, I'm sitting with this connection of vision and prayer. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to me about like how like prayer like programs the field. I think it's another user in the room shared this in the Sharia way, actually, how scientists like tracked a like prayer group or this like devotional group. And I think I can't remember what factor it was that they measured, but I know that there's also a couple of studies that follow that same formulation where people track like the energetic fields of like heart rate variability when people are in sacred session, and they like notice that there's a field that's created when people are in sacred communion, either with themselves or with a group of other people. And so that's also another thing that comes up for me. But let's move on to the next card. We have the Emperor in reverse. And I actually started shuffling because I wanted a clarifier card, and a clarifier card just came out. Um, I'm going to take a photo of the clarifier card. So the Emperor in reverse, let's read what the Emperor is. I'm going to kind of multitask. I'm going to be reading what the Emperor is about. I'm going to also be taking a photo of the card that's clarifying the Emperor in reverse. And then, yeah, that's it. I don't think I have anything else to do except breathe. So let's see. This is the card that's clarifying. I'm like sighing because I'm not gonna lie. I'm like clearing a little bit of version that I have to this card right now. But yeah, let me read what Boone said in the chat. Boone says, self or other, feeling of prayer as communion outwardly, but maybe actually it's communing with the whole of which I'm a part of. Ashe. The qualifier, Adam. Thanks for asking. Adam asks, do I have resistance or aversion to the Emperor or its qualifier? The Seven of Wands is the one that qualifies the Emperor. I would say I have a little bit of aversion to the Seven of Wands. But I'm going to read the Emperor. So the Emperor symbolizes dominion and dictatorship. The Emperor is the sky god, the boss, the patriarch, using intellect to accomplish their goals and force to carry out their demands. They represent the dangers of unrestrained power and private ownership. Zeus, the angry thunder god, or Jehovah, the jealous father. Um, yeah, for sure. I realized that there was a glare on the Emperor card. Let's do that. Someone in the chat asked for a clearer photo. I hope that this is better. So yeah, the Emperor represents this prevailing order. I think in this respect, I think in the theme of what the cards are looking like for this week, I think this is the Emperor cards to me is really speaking to um how difficult it is to surrender the ego sometimes, how difficult it is to me to surrender um what one has accumulated as like mental capacity to the present moment. And so it's like I don't want to kind of like build another like false duality out of like the priestess of swords and the emperor and like they're against each other, but this emperor is in reverse. And so to me like the reversal I think kind of speaks to how like that kind of unrestricted power has a downfall eventually, mostly not because it's like annoying or like it's rambunctious, but mostly because it's like an unsustainable way of like sustaining connection even to like one's own vitality. So in other words, like the emperor to me represents in reverse represents like will and passion and this ability to like drive things forward, but that's like inverted. So it's like maybe being used for the wrong goals. It's being used for, you know what? I love it. I love it because right now what's coming up for me is like the Priestess of Swords is like for this week is revealing to us like how um the kind of circumstances even in the visual of the card what I'm seeing is like this person who goes to a myriad of lengths or people or parts of yourself that are so devoted to your path that like you will go to any length in order to not only like find that nugget of truth but to be in relationship with one's integrity. And I feel like the emperor in reverse is maybe like speaking to at some point this in this week either like seeing the distance that you've come or like how far you've gone from at some point living a life that was like about yeah accumulating all this like inverted sense of power. In my opinion I call it inverted sense of power or this like inverted sense of like raw passion and fire, and seeing how far you've gotten in your life, um, based on like prayer and faith and devotion and being willing to see your own goals through. Like I will say one duality that feels honest that's coming through for me in this moment is like the difference between how yeah like collaborating with the divine on certain things, like you know how some people say like I'm giving it to god or like I'm giving it to my angels or like my ancestors, and how like collaborative that is and how like that can actually like generate not only like sustainable success, it can generate sustainable growth. And it's like almost paralleling this like honest duality that's coming up for me, is like paralleling what happens when you try to like force outcomes or like force a certain level of prestige um, onto yourself or onto circumstances. Um, and how that's, it's not even that it's like good or bad. It's just like the dichotomy that keeps coming up to me for this week is like you'll see parts of yourself or reflecting or be reflecting in your journey and see parts of yourself that were super successful and like had maintained faith. It's giving like crossroads, because then I feel like there's this also this other opportunity this week where we might be revealed to like times or like see parts of ourselves or see times in our timeline or whatever, however you try to qualify it, um, where you might see where you acted opposite. And like the reason why I feel like it's giving crossroads is because I feel like it's like make a decision. Just I don't know why that's coming up for me right now, but I feel like this week is about making a decision about this, like how you generate momentum, how you generate inertia in life. Are you the type of person who like thrives off pettiness and that's how you like derive meaning and derive like your place in the world? Or are you somebody who like gets it out the mud? And I'm not saying one or the other is better, but there might be ample opportunity to like more closely look at yourself this week. And I haven't even gotten to the Seven of Wands yet. And I feel like it's just further clarifying the Emperor in reverse here. The red on red is like very, very, very stark to me. And I'm going to read the Seven of Wands. Let me see what they're all about. So yeah, Wands represents fire, south, the life force, the life force, creative spark, and passion. And the Seven of Wands, I feel like I've read this every single week now, represents defending a position, explaining yourself, or a diversity of opinions. And it almost feels like in this scene, the way that the emperor is sitting on his throne is like he like left whatever meeting all these women are at, not to like polarize this into like men versus women, but it's like he's like, I just need to like get away, is like the vibe that I'm getting from the emperor. I just need to like get away. I just need to get away. And then it's like all these people are having to like make decisions. This is like I'm getting like into the weeds of this. But yeah, I wonder if any of the dichotomies that I presented align for you all or if they don't. And I would love to hear about them before I move on to the next parts of the reading. I feel like the Seven of Wands was really clean in clarifying why the Emperor is in reverse. Haha, maybe the Seven of Wands is what's in his psyche and anima. Ooh, what his psyche and anima look like. Ooh, I'm holding space if you want to say more, Adam.
Well, like you said, with the beliefs and standing up for that image is really striking. There was some fun debate, I feel like, on this server about like whether the woman in the middle was like helping or being the one causing more chaos. Um, but this idea of like I always equate wands with also like beliefs for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so seeing that scene is almost like you've got these inner psychic beliefs that might be kind of competing with one another to arrive at a solution, which is like what the emperor is archetypally trying to do, right? Is find the solution and lay down the command or whatever.
Totally. Yeah, thanks for texturing that in and coloring that in. Yeah, and I do remember the conversation about like what the woman in the middle is doing. Um so yeah, I like that idea of like this background foreground conversation, and that is how I treat clarifiers too. Um and yeah, I'm curious, yeah, if him being in reverse maybe like represents like a spilling over in this case. Yeah, like that's kind of what's coming up for me, like some sort of spilling out of this, or like revealing of this being in the background of this figure's psyche. Mm, yeah, interesting stuff so far. I'm gonna get into the Ace of Wands and see how this like ties in um to like the larger kind of, yeah, like this larger kind of predictive vibe of this reading. So let's see, the Ace of Wands. So again, we're still in this theme of like fire, south, life force energy, creative spark, passion. I also am gonna like kind of borrow a little bit from what you said, Adam, like this idea of like laying down the law, or like the maybe like active principle of this like Emperor card. Even though he's in reverse, I'm gonna give him some grace. Um, Yes, and the I'm gonna read what the Ace of Wands says. And the Ace of Wands represents the birth of new energy. I am, and a celebration of life. The birth of new energy. I am, and a celebration of life. Ooh. Hmm. Thanks for saying so. Boone says, "Wow, love this card's energy feels so potent." Thanks for reflecting. Ace of Wands. We have a baby bursting out of egg with lots of fire around them. And I think it's, it's coming up for me too, this idea of like conflict, or disharmony begetting like harmony, or like how the creation process represents this ebb and flow of dynamics where things are created, and then out of that creation, things are destroyed, and from the remnants of that destruction, things are recreated or created anew. And there's something about that ebb and flow of energies that's coming into my awareness right now, regarding where this reading is going so far. So, like, we have this Priestess of Swords that's reminding us of the power of prayer. We have the Emperor card in reverse that represents, I still see it as like unilateral, like power. And then also like the spilling over or spilling out, or recognition of, again, what is happening in the psyche of a figure who acts in this way. And so they're very polarizing figures, even swords and wands. Again, two polarizing. Um, and when I say polarizing, I kind of just mean like opposite. Um, they're kind of two polarizing elements. Air moves differently than the way fire does. And I feel like there's something in this Ace of Wands that's speaking to how moving from, even in the spectrum of elements, or moving through the spectrum of um like this the spectrum presented by the Priestess of Swords and the Emperor in reverse. Like, these are the movements that create life. They're the movements that help rebirth not only our sense of self, but help us rebirth, and recapitulate like the energy that we've been either cultivating over a long period of time, or either a new path or a new direction. Like, whatever circumstance you want to put it in, I feel like the Ace of Wands represents the birth of that, the birth of an idea, the birth of new inspiration, and how that doesn't just come out of nowhere. I would almost like to pull a clarifier for this Ace of Wands, just to get a sense of what this underlying message between this like creative I am energy is. Or maybe like, let's see. Spirit, what are you trying to communicate to us with the Ace of Wands? What are you trying to communicate to us with the Ace of Wands? Interesting. Interesting. We have the Shaman of Cups in reverse to clarify the Ace of Wands. Do y'all remember earlier when I said that one of the cards came out reverse and the spirit was like, is not reverse? And I turned it right side up? That was the Ace of Wands. And so I'm finding that interesting because I'm like, I pulled the clarifier card for it. And now that clarifier is in reverse. Anna says the word restraint came to me in reference to take it or leave it, lol, in reference to this clarifier. Interesting. Take it or leave it. Hmm. I'm not sure if I have traction on that. Take it or leave it. It feels like part of a larger message. So if you have more to share on that, I'm holding space for it. Boone says hands and first coming out of the egg feels like my idealized version of myself when I jump out of bed straight away, feeling charged to go. Oh, feet, hands and feet coming out. Thank you. Um, of the egg feels like my idealized version of myself when I jump out of bed straight away, feeling charged to go. Doesn't happen often. Feels so ready to go. Exuberant. Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Boone. I usually feel this way after I've had some coffee. But yeah, I can relate to it. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Thanks for offering, Anna. Anna says, "Oh, I just meant like for you to take it or leave it. Restraint." Oh, okay. In reference to the Shaman of Cups in reverse. Interesting. Restraint. Yeah, and I think that that kind of connects to what the card traditionally means, which I'll read. So the Shaman of Cups represents putting on a mask to do work in the world, competence. But this card is in reverse. So we have putting on a mask to do work in the world, also representing competence, which is interesting to me. I think it's kind of like, yeah, I think also too, like at some point when I was like reading the cards, what I was feeling into was like this like tunnel like showing up in the field of this reading, like that almost felt like tell me what I need to do. Not saying that it came from anybody in particular, but I think that in relation to like the way that I was like channeling the message, I could kind of feel that. And the way that I'm interpreting the Shaman of Cups right now is like how I think, yeah, that's what I was about to get into too when I was musing on the Ace of Wands. Before I pulled up a clarifier, it's almost like part of what I was saying got lost in the sauce. And so I'd like to take this time to like clarify what I meant about the Ace of Wands, like um in relation to the overall reading. I feel like there's an opportunity this week um for spirit to like reveal to us, whether through our guides, our angels, our ancestors, whoever you partner with and whoever you collaborate with. I think there's this kind of like opening or this portal for us to see opportunities where we don't have to mask anymore, where we don't have to like fake a sense of competence about certain things, which again, I feel like the Priestess of Swords is really driving this reading because it has to do with like faith, like having faith, maybe if not in the divine or like some other abstract idea of like what self you're connected to. Like maybe it has to do with like believing in yourself. And so that's also what, like, in my opinion, that's what the Ace of Wands further clarifies to me, like this like rebirth of the things that it takes to believe in yourself. And I think with the Shaman of Cups in reverse, it's like, I'm not saying like forego everything that allows you to be like a competent person in the world, but maybe like revisit your ideas of competency and like investigate like what's informing what what you assume makes another person competent in the world, and where, and like investigating those things might be a more like better use of like one's energy, um than just trying to find a solution to how to just become more competent again. I kind of like get a sense that this is like about like cyclical changes, which most of my readings usually are, which is why I do them weekly, because I'm like I want them to like have this like thread. And um yeah, like to me, that's just what's coming up, is like the things that it's going to take for you to be liberated are different than the things that it's going to take for you to be competent in the world. And it's okay if you have a different subset of values to represent what part of your own journey you're on. If you are at a place like that's like cultivating competency, that's awesome. Like get those skills, like do that. And then if you're at a place where you're like liberating yourself from the chains of like, the oppression that your ancestors had to deal with, and like the mystics of your lineage and the magical people of your lineage, then like do that. But it doesn't mean that like either one is right or wrong. Either approach to life is right or wrong. And I'd even go insofar as to say that the duality presented by the Ace of Wands, clarified by the Shaman of Cups, says like, and reminds us that this week might, again, I still feel the like crossroad energy, or like fork in the road is more how I feel it than crossroads. So especially as time goes on, it feels like there's like, yeah, this sense of um like choose your path, like choose your player, choose your outcome, choose your, even if they're not the ones that I mentioned, like make a decision and like allow the chips to fall where they may. And whether you're at a place where you're developing competency, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't expect it to look like the work that you're doing when you're developing like liberation. And then if they intersect, you're lucky. Like that's what I would call luck personally. So yeah, I wonder what that brings up for anyone. Hmm. Take it or leave it. We have the decision actually to make that frame, Boone says. Adam says it was a new moon over the weekend, which I experienced as kind of coming in, quote, under the radar, related to crossroads. Yeah, oh yeah, there was that new moon. And you said that right at 444, so that is pretty cool to me. Yeah, that also might be par for the course of like why there feels like this like fork in the road, might have to do with like the themes of the moon. So I'd be excited to like get into that. Ashe. Boone, is it okay if I read that out loud? Boone says that they held quite a powerful crossroad ritual with their ex-partner last night. Was thinking about Hecate, goddess of the crossroads, leaving things behind for her. Ooh, yeah. Last night, I'm not. Wow. It just occurred to me that I was doing powerful ritual work last night as well, or yesterday, morning slash afternoon. And now I'm getting like all these nudges about the moon. But I'm curious how that last night UK time, Ashe, my afternoon. Oh, okay. So we were like, thanks for clarifying. Yeah, there was something in the air. Not to like be like unduly auspicious, but I do kind of feel like there's some new moon energies making it to this reading. Not to make it about the new moon, but mm, mm. How was the ritual, Boone? If you want to share. Okay. You can type it if you want to, and I'll read it out. Um, but yeah, interesting stuff coming up here. I was not expecting that Shaman of Cups to clarify the Ace of Wands, but that's kind of hitting for me. Um, and then I'm gonna read this Priestess of Cups while you type, Boone, because I do want to read what you had to say, and then yeah, we'll kind of go from there. The Priestess of Cups represents living inside the dream world and creative movement. Mm. Ooh, the Priestess of Cups. Hmm. I feel like what comes up for me with the Priestess of Cups is actually like a little bit like mirroring what Boone and I are kind of like talking about, this like ritual making, magic making, existing and moving in the liminal spaces of reality and like taking up space in liminality, and how which directly correlates to the magician card. That's the card next. But before I get into that, I want to give the Priestess of Cups her time and her shine, because I think um yeah, this figure is kind of illuminated with like the whimsy of the liminal. And I think that it's like twofold, right? Because I feel like for me, at least, when I think about the liminal spaces of reality, I think that it's super related to like the unconscious, the collective unconscious. And then there's another part of me that's like, it's also related to like the imaginal aspect of the inner child. So it's super interesting because I feel like um yeah, it's kind of tying in even with the Ace of Wands, like the kind of environment that helps these energetic signatures or archetypes, let's say, that are in the tarot thrive, is this like sort of whimsy, this lightheartedness or lightfootedness, um that not only comes from taking on like this imaginal childlike state, but I think it also is indicative, or like it also is like reflected in this, in one's engagement, or could be reflected in one's engagement with the collective unconscious. I guess what's coming up for me is like for a long time, like for a very long time in my journey, well, not a very long time, like 2 years, I used to think like unconscious, or like the collective unconscious was like a dirty word. I used to like, I literally like thought that it meant like uncleanliness. Like that was just the association that I made at first, like at first encounter. Um then I also feel like as time went on, I like kind of had to recapitulate my understanding of that word. And I think that that's what the Priestess of Cups is reminding us for this week, is like, or is an emblem to remind us of this week, that yeah, like there's like this way of like doing what people call shadow work, in my opinion. And I would just call like work on yourself. Um that can be like super refined, and that can be almost like beautiful. And like, I mean, I don't even really have like that many examples, but I really do think that it can be that way. And when I look at the Priestess of Cups, that's what I think of. And I think that that might also be like what like spirit is like reminding us of this week, is like finding the beauty and finding the what's the word I'm looking for, finding the reverence for how like this engagement with like the collective unconscious, or this dreamy imaginal liminal space, um can actually be like a reflection of like one's own internal refinement, you know? And not to say that like you get special points for that kind of stuff, but I think it's like, yeah, there is a lot of richness, like dead ass, like a lot of richness and a lot of beauty that comes from engaging with the liminal in that way. And so like whatever lens is afforded to you this week, I feel like spirit's saying like jump on that if you can. Okay, I'm gonna read what Boone is sharing about the ritual. Um, we wrote devils slash nightmares, patterns, things from the relationship we wanted to leave behind, gave space to how that showed up for us, and created unskillfulness and karma in the relationship, and gave them to the fire, brought to the light, was really heartening and joyful, felt very much like crossing a threshold, stepping into the unknown in faith. Ashe, ashe to that statement. And the fact that y'all did that. Then today, a Reiki master came by the house to visit and gave me a tuning completely unexpectedly. Ooh. Peace, Adam. Take care. That's pretty dope, Moon. I'm glad that unfolded for you like that. And thanks for sharing too. Might be also a chance to do some rituals this week. I'm just saying, just saying, just saying. So yeah, I feel pretty complete on the Priestess of Cups. I'm gonna read the Magician card next. That way we can kind of move forward. So the Magician card represents, or it says, like the sun, the magician is fiery and light, representing the active male archetype, the ego in action, swift movement and organization. She starts projects, builds things, and creates through the fire of the will. Ooh, alchemy, alchemy, alchemy. That's what I'm hearing. Again, I do think that like the Priestess of Cups and the Magician are connected. Um, and I'm also feeling like this week it's like I love this because I do feel like the cards are like step by step by step, like they're truly continuing on the message from the others. The one right before them, that is, like each card. So we have the Priestess of Cups, which represents um yeah, like this like appreciation, this reverence for the liminal. And then I feel like the Magician is quite literally what it says. What I read so far is that like, yeah, this ego in action, this active male principle of like organizing. What else did it say? um Organization, starting projects, building things, creating things through the fire of the will. um I feel like there's this interrelation between these two cards, and like spirit is pointing our attention to the Priestess of Cups and the Magician as almost like two two features of like two sides of the same coin, or like two different features of the same kind of internal martial movement. So in other words, like the Priestess of Cups, emblematic of appreciation of the liminal, Magician emblematic of like what happens when you like kind of close that sacred container, that sacred ritual. What else is there to do but act? In my opinion, and I feel that way often, where I'm like, in my meditations, I go places, they're beautiful, they're lovely, but more than anything, after I get out of my meditation, my ability, or like how I approach the next form of action that I want to take, is completely different. It's completely changed after that connection to the liminal, or to the divine, or to the vastness of the collective unconscious. I'm like, I'm ready to like go, like sometimes when I meditate, it honestly feels like a reset. And so I feel like Spirit is saying, look out for opportunities, create opportunities where the transmutation process, like the gap between transmuting the energy and then using the energy that you transmute, is closed a little bit, or that there's more of a bridge between those two affects, and that could be like your magical practice. um mm, it's interesting because I'm pulling a lot of clarifiers today. um Boone says, yes, sealing the liminal to be a mover in the world. Yes, ashe. Sealing the liminal, I love that word, sealing. Here, can we get a clarifier for the relationship between the priestess. There we go. The priestess of cups and the magician, and we have the fool card. And I'll share this in the chat. So yeah, I think the fool card is really just doubling down on some of what spirit is pointing our attention to. And I'll read it just for posterity. We'll read the last card and then we'll close out. So the fool reads, like the feminine archetype, the fool, the zero, embodies all duality within itself and its infinite impossibilities, appearing marginally as the Joker in modern playing cards. The Fool is actually the main card in the tarot, representing the essence of life itself, the divine light within the human form, and the secret of reincarnation. Ashe. I literally, I have nothing else to say on that card. And so I'll move on to the last card, or before I get into the oracle. This is exciting. I'm very excited about this week. So we have the Ace of Cups. Cups represents water, west, deep emotions, and love. The ace, oh snap. The ace represents, oh snap, falling in love, self love, and allowing yourself pleasure. Mm-hmm. Woohoo! Self love, falling in love, allowing yourself pleasure. I want a clarifier for this. I'm petty. I'm like, yeah, I think the Ace of Cups. I'll just say that I think that I feel in my senses that Spirit wants us to carry on with that lightness we talked about last week, but also like allow that lightness to be like dual purposed, just as easy as it is for you to take action. I was kind of hearing this in my meditations this week. Was like some of my guides were like reflecting back to me like how easy it is for me to take action should correlate with how easy it is for me to receive. Otherwise, like energy exchange will always feel imbalanced to me. And that was just like, I'm like, damn, y'all read me. So it feels like this Ace of Cups feels like kind of like that second part that my guides gave me. Like, it should be easy to receive if it's easy for you to give. Um, and I was like, oh, God, y'all are so right. So, yeah. But I do want to clarify her because this is about falling in love. This is about self love. Oh, Lord. Valentine's Day is this week. Cha. I want to clarify for the Ace of Cups. In what direction is that like love portal this week gonna look like? Because I feel like we kind of like covered a lot of portals. Portals of prayer came up. We had this like inversion of like power and like decision making, understanding the difference of what it means to like pave your path to develop competence, and then what it means to like pave your path to cultivate liberation. With the Priestess of Cups and Magician are co-creating together, which is like this love child of um, love child represented by the Fool. Then we have this Ace of Cups clarified by the Seven of Swords. New energy, new, new. I keep hearing the word new. Hold on, y'all. The channel is fragging. The channel is fragging. But I'm hearing that yeah, like new outcomes or like the desire for like new outcomes is not cannot happen with the same energetic signature. What I'm hearing is that this Ace of Cups is actually more about self-love. This is not about calling in a lover. This is not a week to do that because, child, people already probably got a Valentine, and that's messy. Okay. I mean, do you, but I'm just telling you what Spirit's telling me. And I get the sense that this week is about self love, giving yourself a chance to like release old narratives, release old ways of thinking, indulge yourself in pleasure, receive also like these energetic openings to create a new self. So, like, kind of like working with your self concept so that that concept of self isn't just kind of like falling back into like old patterns or old ways of seeing things. Um yeah, I really feel like in short like that's the power of prayer, the power of meditation, the power of communing with other people is paramount this week, and also the power of like sincere self love. I say sincere because a lot of people will say that they're doing some self love stuff and it can be kitschy, which no shade to them. That's probably what makes them feel loved. But I think that this is about um, like opening one's capacity to receive love. Um, and yeah, I think that this week I don't know. I feel like every week is beautiful. Just kidding. Some weeks are harder than others, but I do feel like this week is particularly pivoted towards growth and seeing oneself more clearly. Um, so I'm going to read the last card, which is the Oracle card, Sound of the Universe, and then I'm going to head out of here. Sound of the Universe represents life changing experiences, glimpsing the great mystery, significant timing, pivotal moments, the Sri Yantra, the tuning fork of universal consciousness, music, transcending mundane reality. This card signifies those pivotal moments that transcend belief, remind us of a greater reality, and influence us so that life will never be the same again. When the artist started channeling paintings, she explored sacred geometry by including it as a key element in their creations without knowing much about its meaning. When they looked up the wisdom of the Sri Yantra, they were blown away. It symbolizes, they found out, the sound of the universe. This painting was crucial for them, as it was their make or break decider for whether they could fulfill their dreams as a painter. It was also significant because they crashed their car trying to steady the painting and momentarily taking their eyes off the road. The events that followed delivered the most spiritual growth for the painter and they had experienced in this lifetime up until that point. Interestingly, the piece has now vanished. The Sri Yantra is a powerful symbol described as the tuning fork that connects us to universal consciousness. It is present in those aha moments, the fragments in time when life as we know it falls away to reveal a place outside the mundane. It brings a sense of awe and overwhelms and yet feels so real that it jolts us back to our core for deeper remembering. It allows us to fathom our limitlessness. This card is also about music as a sacred tool. It speaks of the importance of having a soundtrack for our journey. Hey, I love that. Music was an essential aspect in ceremony in Lemuria as it bridged the gap between matter and non matter. Even in this dimension, music opens the portals to an array of feelings and atmospheres. Bring more music into your life to expand your experience and shift your sense of ordinary reality. The divinatory meaning behind this card: having your world shaken up even a little, even a little can invite a deeper glimpse of the great mystery of your life. There are myriad there are myriad ways to peek behind the veil of the mundane world: ecstatic dance, spiritual exploration, intuitive creative pursuits are just a few. Aim to naturally imbue this awareness in your everyday existence so you can avoid the sudden wake up calls. Wake up to the hidden music, harmony, and wonder of your multidimensional world. Ashe. Thank you guys again for being here for this long. This was a longer reading than I anticipated. I hope that yeah, that there's something for everyone in this reading. And again, I really appreciate this time. Um, and yeah, see you next week, same place. Take care.